What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tipsy Tailgate podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Algrobly.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Jake.
We're very excited to bring you this podcast. We've been kind of thinking about it for a while, and we're finally getting it off the ground. We got a lot of content to bring you. We're very excited, like I said. So let's just get into it. Our first topic of the day, we're going to Super Bowl preview. The greatest game of sports history. The Super Bowl is coming up this Sunday. We got the Buccaneers versus the Chiefs, Brady versus Mahomes, a lot to unpack. Let's go into a little bit of an overview and predictions. If you want to take over first.
Well, I think it's obviously going to be a great game. Mahomes and Brady have split 2-2 in their career games against each other. I think the Bucs are going to pull this one out. I think they're going to win 28-24. I think they're going to limit the Chiefs as much as possible on scoring until about, middle of the third quarter-ish, and I think Brady's going to make them pay.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I have the Bucs winning 34-31. Obviously, I'm a huge Brady fan, favorite player ever. But I think this game goes further than Brady. I think it's a lot of what comes on with this defense. If they could play, they're one of those teams that just has the playmakers to turn the game around like that. I think, and we'll all give ours. I think my MVP prediction is going to be Brady. I think if he wins, he's just going to have to do too much to not get it, like you've seen in past Patriot Super Bowls. Also, just as a couple dark horses, Devin White, I think if they win, he's going to have a huge impact to the game regardless. And JPP might be coming up with a big strip sack or something like that. I think what I think is going to happen in this game, Brady's going to manage the hell out of it. He'll have a few slip-ups. I could see him throwing a pick, maybe two. But the run game's gonna lead the way. Rojo, playoff Lenny, Leonard Fournette. They've been great, and I think they're gonna keep going. They're gonna ride the run game a lot. I think that one of the biggest points, and I hope it ends up coming to this. I think time management will decide the game. It'll come down to either the Bucs have the ball, minute left, minute 30, or the Chiefs have the ball, minute left, minute 30, and it's just Bruce Arians. He's known for his crazy offensive ability, and so is Andy Reid. But one thing Andy Reid's always gotten taken against him was his time management. Exactly. And Andy Reid and Bruce Arians with Brady now. Brady kind of runs his own game on the offensive side, so I could see them maybe having a disagreement. One calls a timeout. Brady wants to keep going, and Arians thinks it's time for a timeout. If the two can stay on the same page, this will be a game that I think they could win for sure. If not, then I think Andy Reid and the Chiefs could pull it out.
We got a clean sweep of the Bucs because I also think the Bucs are pulling out of
Look
it.
at this.
Yeah, I know.
The underdog. I think they're opening up at like plus 148 to the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think Tom Brady loses to Patrick Mahomes again this year, and I don't think Tom Brady loses in the Super Bowl to Patrick Mahomes again this year.
Yeah.
So especially when you think about that, Tyreek Hill had himself a game. He had 200 yards in the first quarter the last time these two played, but I think Bruce Arians is a guy who, if you're Brian Westbrook said something this week about how Bruce Arians will literally 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl sleep in his office and game plan and have the game plan ready a week prior.
Exactly.
So he's going to know what he needs to do to stop Tyreek Hill, stop Travis Kelce. Obviously, you can't really stop him. You can only contain him. But even if you do contain him, on the other side, you got Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin.
All these weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
So I almost think it's going to be harder. It's a testament to, okay, which defense is going to contain the offense? Because we both know, the offenses are going to come out and do their thing.
Yep,
They're going to
ball.
ball.
High flying.
I think to win this game, you're going to have to put up more than 40 points. I think the Bucs are going to win 41-37. Because, little bold take, I have the Chiefs missing an extra point. And I think it could be crucial.
Wow.
And yeah, Super Bowl MVP, Tom Brady. And then defensively, if somebody was to win it, I would go Carlton Davis just because I think hasn't he had a pick in every game?
He can make great. Sean Murphy Bunting has been great. They got some corners that are.
I think anyone on the Bucs defense could win Super Bowl MVP because as you were saying earlier, they are just filled with playmakers and anyone who can change a game at any moment.
Exactly. So we're gonna jump into. Or you have anything else? Or
no? I'm good.
So we're gonna jump into. I like this. The bets that I like, and I talked with Ben. So. These are on all DraftKings lines. Not a sponsor, but if they want to sponsor us, that would be great. So one, I like the trick play, a specialty. Total players to attempt a pass over 2.5, plus 165. I think in every Super Bowl, maybe the past 3-4 Super Bowls, there's been at least one trick play. There's a Philly special. Patriots did it that same game. That's 4 as it is. Who knows? A punt fake. There's so many ways. Plus
Saints onside kick in 2009.
Exactly, yeah, there's so many trick plays. So plus 165. I think you should go put some money on that.
Especially with these two teams too.
Yeah, and we're not betting. We're not betting men.
Coaches.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're not betting men. We're just saying what would we like. Rojo to score. I think he scores. I think he's healthier now. Playoff Lenny, obviously a huge player in the playoffs so far. Getting that nickname for himself, but. Rojo has that big playability, and I think plus 225, you could put a little bit on that. Brady to score plus 425. I think he's bound to get a QB sneak. He's too good at it. I could see that. Rojo over 37.5 rush yards, minus 118. I think that's not a bad line. I could see him getting a break-off run. That's kind of what I think will happen. Kelsey, I know it's high, but over 94.5 receiving yards, minus 141. I think Kelsey's going to have a phenomenal game. Like, if the Chiefs win, he's getting MVP. I think, unless Mahomes goes 4 touchdowns, 400 yards, I think Kelsey's going to have an insane game. And a little alternative spread, Chiefs plus 3.5, minus 275. You're adding it to a parlay, something like that. I think that plus 3.5 for the Chiefs is something that's almost bound to hit no matter what. So let's get into our next topic. Matthew Stafford, all right, the Lions quarterback for, over 10 years, gets sent to the Los Angeles Rams for 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and Jared Goff. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm very happy for Matt Stafford. I've always been a big fan of Matt Stafford, and I didn't want the Lions to waste Matt Stafford's career like they did with Barry Sanders and Megatron. A lot of people are complaining about the price they had to pay. I'm fine with it. I think the NFL stands for not for long. It's a win now league. They have a roster that's ready to go to the Super Bowl, and I think they have a really good chance next year with Stafford at quarterback.
I agree.
I mean, you were mentioning it from the Rams' point of view, and yeah, the Rams are in a sick position right now, but the Lions set themselves up great.
Yeah.
Jared Goff, say what you want about him, I don't think he's a winning quarterback, but he has gone to the Super Bowl before.
Yeah.
And that's like, Carson Wentz has had a season where he's been in MVP contention, but he didn't play in the playoffs that year. Jared Goff played in the playoffs and took them to a Super Bowl. So I think you can have that little bit of hope. You have a new coach in Detroit. You're getting a new quarterback, younger quarterback. You can somewhat rebuild with him. Jeff Okudah didn't really pan out, but, he's still
young.
Third pick for a reason, so he's got some in there. I think the Lions got a haul out of it. The only bad part of that trade is they're taking on $100 million in Jared Goff's contract.
Well, it's funny that you said that about Jared Goff because I think that he is a winning quarterback. He's one of only few quarterbacks in the NFL to have beaten Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers on the road.
He's got more.
The guy's a winner. He's a winner.
Yeah, I mean, I could. Yeah, like I said, I think the Lions set themselves up great. What they're doing is a complete culture rehaul. You got Dan Campbell in there, who's just a gritty, tough guy. His post-conference showed that already, or press conference showed that already. He's going to be a guy that's just going to bring the culture in. He's not going to stay for too long, but by the time he leaves, it's going to be a different Lions team, no matter what. And I could kind of say that with certainty.
Well, did you see what Goff said? When he found out how he's excited to be appreciated by someone. And I think that's exactly what Campbell will do. Say what you want about his X's and O's. That might not be up to par for what you want in a head coach, but he seems to be a player coach, a guy who loves his guys and motivates them.
Yeah, I mean, for his sake, at least after saying that, I really hope they don't draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
But I think the Rams also made a nice move here. they're a team that are kind of like capped, squeezed, if you'd say, restrictions and everything, and they just they're kind of a quarterback away and kind of a play away of always getting to the next step. Stafford, I love this move, and one of the big things that comes with this is, quarterbacks now are so valuable, and they've always been, but they're so valuable. If you're gonna trade for one, it's gonna take a haul. You're never gonna get one like this. So 2 first rounders, a quarterback, and a third. It's something that I think you're willing to do. And on that same basis, Deshaun Watson, I think, and we're gonna touch on his landing spots right now, but I think that Watson will go from anywhere for 4 to 7 first round picks. If he gets traded, 4 to 7 first round picks. You heard it here first, and I think that with a certainty. I think there's no way he goes for less than 4 first round picks.
I could see 4 firsts. I could not see more than that.
Yeah,
I don't think any team would. I don't care who it's for. I don't care if it's for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Most teams would not give up 4 first round picks.
I mean, obviously, like it seems like it's just out of like the concept of reality. But Nick Wright said on Colin Cowherd that he thinks whoever gets Deshaun Watson should offer their first round picks for as long as Watson's on the team. So every year Watson's on the team, their first round pick goes to the Texans. And think about it. Say he does 10 years on the Dolphins, maybe. I like the Dolphins as a landing spot. 10 years on the Dolphins. Would you turn out 10 first-round picks? Obviously, these first couple years might be a little earlier, but if the Dolphins really pan out into what they are, they're going to be a contender for 6 years-ish with this type of squad and that quarterback, that coach. So, I mean, a team like that, 6 late first-round picks. When the Patriots were in the peak of their dynasty, their first-round picks turned out to nothing almost year after year after year. So if in that sense, I'm fine with it. But 10, anything more than that, anything more than even 5 is a lot to get into. But I mean, for a quarterback nowadays, you're gonna have to pay a lot.
Yeah, and as a Jet fan too, obviously, when you have a guy like Deshaun Watson up and you have the assets to give up, 4 first-round picks does seem like a haul, but still, you have it. You have your 2 picks. You have the Seahawks. You can give up Sam Darnold even though you don't really want to. I don't see a team. Maybe the Dolphins, if the Texans really, really like Tua, maybe the Dolphins can match it, but I don't think there's a team in the league that can match the Jets' assets.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I would love if Deshaun was a Jet. Knock on wood, hope it happens, but I don't know. I don't know how it would feel, giving up 7 first-rounders for Deshaun Watson, knowing that we're still so far away.
Yeah, and so with that said, for me at least, I think the Dolphins are the best landing spot. I think they have the second most draft capital to move behind the Jets and maybe the Jags. I don't really know where they stand, but the Dolphins have a ton of draft capital, 2 first-round picks this year. They can move that and they can go and get them. It's something that they might need to do, but I think the Dolphins definitely fit that best. Obviously, the 49ers are in that conversation, but they're still, they were in the Super Bowl, yes, but they're still a team that seems like they're not fully polished. The receiver position is they got young, but are they enough to win a big game like that, to get to the Super Bowl again? I don't know. Their secondary, they're most likely losing Richard Sherman, so you got to replace him. It's a lot to replace. I don't know if any team will offer enough that as the Dolphins will. So I could kind of see him going to the Dolphins.
If I was Deshaun Watson, I would absolutely want to go to the Dolphins. Yeah. I think
Very
Brian
ideal.
Flores is a great coach. I think they have a great roster that's ready to win. And to be honest, I don't see why he'd want to go to New York. I think the Jets are kind of the Texans in New York. They're kind of a mess. The only thing that New York has is Robert Saleh. That's the one attraction for Deshaun, but I think Brian Flores could be just as good of a coach, if not better, than Saleh.
I think having Saleh is a pretty nice attraction to have as your head coach, I think you re-sign Jamison Crowder. Denzel Mims in every game he played had 60-plus yards. Obviously he's got to stay healthy. Robert Saleh can take a subpar defense and turn them into a defense that won't lose you games.
Yeah.
So you get Deshaun in there, maybe get another piece, have one of your late round draft picks pan out. As much of a dumpster fire as the Jets are, no matter what team you are, you add Deshaun Watson, you add a few good pieces around him, you're gonna be in contention. The Texans, they had pieces, but their coaching staff was really never there.
Yeah, culture too is all out of whack. Bill O'Brien left it in shambles.
Complete shambles.
Yep.
Yeah. So touching on football real quick before we got a really nice topic for you up next, but really quickly we want to touch on the coaching hires in the NFL. Starting with the most recent, Houston Texans, like we just said, David Culley. He was the the Ravens' assistant head coach and wide receivers coach, also passing game coordinator. It's kind of one of those situations where, nobody really wants to take the position. You want to kind of get it solved out sooner than later. So waiting for the enemy is kind of something that's going to be tough. But personally, I don't like this hire at all. I'd give this a C minus maybe. I saw that when he went to the Ravens, their passing game, obviously Lamar is more of a running guy, but their passing game was not what it once was. I think previously, I forget what team.
It was the Chiefs. Where
the Chiefs.
He was the receiver.
Did not get a receiving
not one
touch,
receiving touchdown.
One
yes.
wide receiver got a receiving touchdown.
That's pretty bad if you're a
Yeah.
receiver coach. Obviously, that's the year. I think they didn't have any weapons that year, but one receiving touchdown is
It's pretty bad.
yeah, it's pretty
But
bad.
with that said, I kind of feel bad for Culley. No, what's he gonna do? Not take a head coaching
No,
job
I agree.
in the NFL? Like
You take
he's
it,
been
whatever.
he's been an assistant coach for so long in this league.
You just
He's
want
paid
a
his
spot at
dues.
this point.
Yeah, man.
At this point, you just want an opportunity to become a head
He's like
coach.
65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been around.
This
for
is his last
4
chance to
years.
get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
He'll probably never get this chance
Yeah.
again. I don't blame him for taking it, but I just can't see him succeeding.
And it's with a team that's most likely gonna get rid of Watson and most likely gonna lose
Watt.
JJ Watt.
Yeah.
So it's a team that's rebuilding. There's not high expectations at all.
And when he first got hired, he said, "I know that we'll find a way to keep Deshaun." I hope that the Texans didn't tell him, "No way, we're trading Deshaun Watson," because that would just be terrible to lie to the man straight to his face. Because at this point, they have no choice.
Yeah, I heard. With the new I think CBA, the players agreement, there's a lot of rules going in with holdouts, all that deal, because everything in the past, Le'Veon Bell, and now it's very, very, very against a player, more so than it ever was, to hold out. I think something along the lines of where they'd take astronomical pay, fines, maybe suspension, all that stuff. There's a lot built into it. I'm not sure about all of it, but the holdout at this point doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
I think he did say today that he won't play.
He would hold out. He said he would hold out. So, yes, you got to eat, the fines, all that, the bad publicity. But I think they ship him out before. I don't think you hold on to him knowing that he's just a ticking time bomb.
I don't think that Deshaun will get any hate for this, any bad publicity. I don't think anyone blames him for wanting out.
They failed to give him an O-line year after year. They got Tunzel. They traded everything for him. And, he still takes so many hits. He had the lacerated rib or kidney, whatever that was.
The best player he's ever played with got traded away
they had to
for a
bus him to
washed
the
up
game.
running back.
They've given him nothing year after year. His head coach has done nothing for him year after year. You look at their rosters when they would make runs. You had prime J.J. Watt, prime Jadeveon Clowney. Deshaun Watson, who
Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins.
even though he wasn't in his prime, still Deshaun Watson. He was a guy that would always get the job done. Like you guys said, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
They had guys there for him on all sides of the ball, and they couldn't get it done. So he's looking at it. Okay, I've done every single thing I could do. It's my last year of my rookie contract before I start making $40 million a year. Might as well sit out, be extremely fresh. In a year from now, he's still only 26.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so young. I wouldn't blame him for sitting out.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to touch on this for a little bit. We'll kind of go rapid fire with these next ones. The Jags, Urban Meyer. I like it. I'd give this one an A minus. He's not going to be the Dan Campbell running around going crazy, but he will change the culture. He's putting the guys in place. Maybe it's a potential Ohio State line where people succeed at Ohio State. They want to go to the NFL. The Jags are right there with Urban Meyer and his whole system. Kind of come right in, fall into an NFL team. I like where the Jags are at. I like this hire.
This was my favorite hire.
Yeah.
I give it an A+. I love that they're gonna have Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence for the next decade plus. It seems. I just think it's great. It provides such stability for the organization, stability that they haven't had in years, and I think they can go nowhere but up from here.
Yeah, I remember reading that their owner had roster control, and as soon as Urban Meyer came in, the owner gave up roster control to Urban and to the GM, and that was such a problem for them.
Shows the respect,
years. Yeah. So, you look at them, you got James Robinson, you got DJ Chark, Visca Chenault. Their line is serviceable. They need a tight end. But they're one of those teams that, okay, you get two guys to step up, really. They could be good, especially in the AFC South.
Yeah, no, I agree. For these next few, we'll just go ratings. Dan Campbell, B+. Nobody was going to go to the Lions and turn it around, so I'll give it a B+.
I'll go C-. It just didn't really hit me in any way. It just kind of came and went.
Yeah, I would give it a C+ because other than that press conference, what is Dan Campbell doing?
Yeah, exactly. Brandon Staley. I actually like this one a lot. I would have liked Brian Daboll a lot more, but I'd give this one an A-. To the Chargers, obviously.
I agree with that. I like that. Herbert met him, liked him, and honestly, if you have a young quarterback who looks like he's going to be a stud, you should let him pick the coach.
Right.
100%. I agree with that.
And yeah, I would agree with the A- as well because Herbert is a guy who's proven, even with Anthony Lynn, who I don't really think is that great of a coach. Herbert had 34 touchdowns this year.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, yeah.
33, 34, I believe.
Yeah, Herbert's going to be a guy that can get the job done. So he likes the coach, hire him.
Saleh, or Robert Saleh, I like it. He's a guy that is the Dan Campbell fire under you, but he also brings New York the defensive prowess, the defensive mind to really go after it and get after it. I like it. I'd say this one's one of my favorite. A.
He kind of reminds me of Rex Ryan a little bit, but a more normal version.
Put together Rex Ryan.
A more collected,
definitely.
More professional Rex Ryan. I think it was a great hire. I'd give it an A+ as well.
Yeah, as a Jet fan, I would give this an A+. Back in the Mark Sanchez era, it was never about our offense. It was always about the defense, and I think that's what Robert Saleh is bringing back to this team. And quite frankly, the Jets are terrible, but their defense isn't that bad. They have a very serviceable defense who needed the right coaching. I think hiring, who was it, LaFleur as their new offensive coordinator. It's the new era of the NFL. You get a young mind in there that's, air raid type, but will also have a dominant running game. So, I think not only what he's done just as himself, but I think who he's brought in, A+.
Falcons, Arthur Smith, the former Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. I like this one a lot. Get Matt Ryan, another offensive guy. He was great with Shanahan at OC. Now you get a guy that's similar in terms of the offensive mind. I'll give this one an A-.
I'll give it a B-. It didn't really, I don't know. I don't really think much of Atlanta anyways. I think Matt Ryan's kind of done. I like Matt Ryan, but I think he's kind of done, and I think Julio could be on the move. So
yeah, possibly.
I think they're both on the move. I would give it a B just because if you're an offensive guy, you're in a great place to be in Atlanta. So it's probably going to work out offensively, but everybody's getting older. You're going to have to ship guys out, rebuild. Let's see how you do there.
Yeah, Eagles. This was actually they came up with a lot of controversy. Nick Sirianni. He had his opening, his intro press conference, and stumbling on his words, kind of repeating the same things. A lot of people were ripping him on it. I don't really look too much into that. He could be a great coach, great in the locker room, but in front of this huge press conference, public speaking, maybe he just doesn't know what to do. Maybe it's his first time really getting in front of something like that. I don't blame him for that. But I love what he did with the Colts as a OC from 2018 to 2020. So I'll give this hire B+. I don't think much of the Eagles, but I'll give him as a person, as a hire, to kind of go in there and give his best shot. I think B+.
I'll give it a C-. I think that it was more Frank Reich than him in Indy. I think Frank Reich is one of the best offensive coaches and coaches period in the NFL. And I think him stumbling on his words really kind of just shows what he is. He's more of a coordinator than a head coach.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely.
I think when you look at the Colts, if the Colts had a good quarterback. Put Matt Stafford on the Colts. I think they're
I think they go to the
Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I think they go to the AFC Championship.
That was my
Super Bowl.
favorite fit. I really wish he went there.
So the Colts were almost too good of a scheme that just missed that one element of the quarterback, and Phillip Rivers did that for him. And listen, he did an all right job, but then again, it's 40-year-old Phillip Rivers doing this for the Colts. Now you go to the Eagles on one of the worst rosters in the league, terrible cap situation. You have no idea who your quarterback is next year. No wide receivers. I don't think this is going to work out well. I would give it a D.
Sorry. Next topic today. This one right down our alley. Baseball. MLB comes out and they announce no Hall of Famers for this year. Something that's kind of shocking, surprising, maybe. But the headliner obviously comes again. Bonds, Schilling, their last year on the ballot, right?
Schilling
had one
next
more.
year. He took himself out of next year.
Took himself out. So Bonds, Schilling, at least for now, unless something happens.
Clemens missed out as well.
Clemens, no Hall of Fame for them. So my thoughts. Kurt Schilling, obviously, these voters have been so strict with their policy and kind of not budging for anything with the steroid era, everything else. Kurt Schilling's a guy that had a great career, and when it comes to it, it's hard to really rule on it because the whole steroid era is this big controversy, but then what are we going to do? We're going to look at these Astros scandals, right, and all this other stuff, spying, the trash can stuff, The Wire. What are we going to do? Look at that and say,
Jose Altuve isn't a Hall of Famer.
It doesn't matter.
Jose Altuve is definitely going to get into the Hall of Fame, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's guys that are, Verlander, what, you're going to
You're not going to let Justin Verlander?
No, that doesn't make sense. So I mean, and I think that is worse than what happened with the steroid era. Bonds has come out and said, obviously, not many people want to believe him, but Bonds has come out and said, I was doing my own thing, and then I'm seeing these guys, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, they're hitting moonshots. Just
players
bombs
who were nowhere close to as good as him.
Exactly, just hitting bombs, and they're getting all of the recognition, all of the news, all of the media, everything, which leads to bigger contracts, bigger fan bases, jersey sales, all that stuff. And if you're here playing the game by the rules like Bonds was, and you see that happening, and you know you're better than these guys, I don't blame them for being like, all right, well, they're not getting caught, they're not getting in trouble, I want to do what they're on. I want the juice. It's one of those things. So in my opinion, Kurt Schilling, I'm not too big on either side. I think he does belong in the Hall of Fame. But here's where I get really serious. Bonds, I think that Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame is the biggest crime baseball's ever committed outside of
Pete Rose.
Rose and the Black Sox scandal. Barry Bonds is, in my opinion, the greatest MLB player of all time. Trout might pass that. I think he will pass that. Yeah. Just give him a couple more years. He'll pass that. Maybe, hopefully, a World Series eventually. That'll help his case a ton. Babe Ruth, obviously, but Barry Bonds. Pete Rose, obviously. Two of the four that we were just mentioning aren't in the Hall of Fame, and one of them's even banned. So Barry Bonds, I think, but you look at him before the steroids. He was a fast, stole bases, hit bombs,
great fielder,
great average. This guy was a great player before steroids. Takes steroids and is just like a my player, create a character. This guy was off the charts. You can't even say anything besides his greatness was just unmatched. Him not being in the Hall of Fame really gets me riled up. I don't know how you could do it. I don't know how in his final year you could just not be okay, we'll give it to him. The final year, people would recognize that. They would be like, okay, it's his final year. They just let him in. It wasn't a first year automatic bid. But to not have him in at all is just disgraceful.
And what did he get? 63% of votes?
I think you needed something.
I thought it was 61% he got. Schilling got 71%.
Schilling got, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Bonds, my thing with Bonds has always been, okay, yeah, he takes steroids, but there's still the element of what I think the hardest thing to do in all sports is to be able to hit a baseball. Yeah. And he did that exceptionally well. He just took something to make the baseballs go further.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
You're right, But other than that, still phenomenal, one of the best baseball players of all time.
The way I look at Barry Bonds is pre-steroids, pre-accusations, This guy was a Hall of Famer.
Yes, exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
from 1986 to 1998, when everyone thought he was on the juice, he won 3 MVPs. He was in the top 5 voting for MVP 5 times. He won 8 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers, and he made 8 All-Star games.
yeah.
This guy might have been the greatest baseball player of all time pre-steroids.
Yeah. Like,
It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
And then you have guys like Mike Piazza, who people accuse of doing the juice all the time, and he got 99% of the votes to get in.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is it's the egos of these voters. Yep. It's all about ego. They don't want him in. They don't want to accept it.
Well,
they don't want.
It's also because Barry Bonds was a jerk to media members.
Obviously, like there's so much that goes into it, but like. I think doing this is just something that, again, the reason why baseball fails to reach the levels that NFL is at now, it's because they don't grow as a organization, and it's the whole issue with the taunting after home runs, bat flips, the staring down pitchers, all that stuff. And if you're going into a new generation, a media generation, internet. You gotta kind of adjust, and the fact that the MLB still doesn't want to do that and still doesn't want to let in a guy like Barry Bonds, Kurt Schilling. I mean, these guys are, and I always come back to it when you're telling whether or not a player can be a Hall of Famer. It always comes back to, can you tell the story of the MLB, NFL, NBA, whatever it is, without saying their name? And no, you cannot for both of these guys.
And to touch on that part of it, Kurt Schilling, he won 11-2 in the postseason. A 2.26 ERA, won 3 World Series, won a World Series MVP, and for his second World Series, he helped push the Boston Red Sox over the top to break the curse of the Great Bambino.
Yeah.
How is this guy not a Hall of Famer?
That's like one of the biggest stories.
That might be the biggest stories in sports history.
And you can't snub him like that's, and it shows. He's just so fed up. I'm not, what he said, I'm not going on the ballot next year. Like I don't even like. These guys, it's disgraceful. Obviously, we could touch on Pete Rose a little bit, another episode.
It's just so telling.
It's so telling on the egos of these voters and on the ego of the MLB as a whole to not want to grow and not adjust and just stay complacent to America's pastime. But yeah, like if you stay like this, it's going to be the pastime because nobody's going to be watching it. And
well, it's also the fact that the MLB doesn't want people to watch it unless they pay for it. The MLB, the NFL just did it a few years ago. The NBA's done it for years. It was one of Adam Silver's best ideas. The MLB doesn't monetize their content. They do monetize their content. That's the problem.
Yeah, and they control everything that's out there. Right. You post a clip of a thing, you can't do it anymore. These teams, the Red Sox, when they hit a home run, half the time they don't even post a clip of the home run. They post a clip of David Ortiz or whoever it was going up there and like flexing on like a graphic, and it has Ortiz home run. Like how can you, like, NBA, some guy takes a charge, you see it all over Twitter. Like, you have to do that. It grows the game. And I think this is something we could touch on definitely in another episode because we're all big baseball fans, and this stuff gets us riled up. But like I said, Bonds, Schilling, these guys should be in the MLB Hall of Fame.
Even a guy like Roger Clemens.
Even Clemens,
yeah. I was looking at Clemens' stuff today, too. I didn't realize he played from 1984 to 2009?
Yeah. Somewhere around there, yeah.
Well, part of the reason with him, I do kind of understand his because he like got kind of bad and then took steroids to like rejuvenate his career.
It's just a second
So
peak.
I kind of understand him, but still, I think pre-steroids, the guy was a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think these voters are going to regret it in the future when they're seeing guys like Altuve and Verlander go in after all these scandals. But yeah, we're excited to bring you this episode 1 of the Tipsy Tailgate. We hope to be sitting here bringing you episode 200 in the future, and we hope to grow a following, a fan base. We're very passionate about sports, and we want to give you guys all the news, the topics, the debates. We want you guys to watch. Comment down below, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, like the video. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Follow the Tipsy Tailgate on Instagram. We really appreciate it, guys, and we hope you guys tune in for the next episode. Thank you.